The light sends its morsel of thought into darkness. The darkness interprets that light and reflects it. And as time goes on, that reflection becomes agreed upon and becomes solid as a in-between meeting of light and dark. Now let's use that synonym of light and dark and actually say what it is: sun and earth. At a smaller level, light peered into dark. Dark interpreted that information of light, and in between the two gave a center neutral reflection. On a macular level, when we explore that in its depth, what that means is thought itself is the only creation, which God is the thought operating within you when you come from a pure spot. It's what you already got. It's what you've not got. That on continues with a T. It's a plus sign. What you got. You started with Ga came from your mouth and your tongue. G is Ah, and D closes it. D. That's what God is. God is what you pronounce out of your mouth. And that's what you get for saying that, because you are God. That's what that means. I know people don't want to hear that, contrary to their popular belief system, but that's all it is a belief system. So the light peers into the darkness, and the darkness interprets the light. Now let's take that on a morsel of sunlight on a morsel of ground. A morsel of ground makes more rocks, because a morsel of ground only thinks and interprets light as rocks. And it uses whatever means it can to make more rocks. And it reflects whatever color of light. It distorts its way through the hemisphere or sphere or atmosphere or borosphere and the gases that arise or erode, or all of those things that come up from the ground and cause interaction between the hard-to-see surfaces and the surfaces. So that light peers through not any more darkness, because between the darkness and the light they decided that there was an in-between neutral reflection. So there's a reflection on both sides, but that's neutral in the center. Like a mirror is sand and invisibility. How is that possible? Well, it makes a lot of sense, because you take something that's completely solid and make it into something that reflects. There you go. A mirror is one of those things. So this is a mirror world, but it's also the other world too. The other world is the one we don't see. So what we see in a mirror is our body reflection, but what we see in our eyes, deep, deep down in our eyes, is us. That light in your eyes that peers out at you in the mirror. So that light inside, when you close your eyes, is easier to manage. When it's looking around, it gets distracted. So you take that light inside yourself in the darkness, and you give that darkness a thought. You plant that thought in the darkness. And that darkness will create an image in your head. That image in your head is the darkness's reflection meeting that neutral light thought. And that light thought will meet that darkness, and between the two they'll make a neutral thing, and it will produce outside in the world no matter what. No matter what. Like the sunlight hits the ground and reproduces more ground, hits a seed and reproduces more seed. It hits an animal, but an animal eats all that stuff from the ground and uses that material to produce more animals. How does it do it? Through means that explain themselves, reproduction processes. Because our bodies are that smart. They use lesser materials to make newer materials. So from rocks to slithering things, from slithering things to walking and crawling things, from walking and crawling things to flying things. And then in reverse, because at the same time, it's all happening in time, not on time, in time. So there are flying things, there are crawling things, there are all kinds of things. And where did they start? From thought. How? Thought reflected in dark. Dark gave it a neutral reflection. Meaning on both sides it's the invisible and the solid. How is that possible? That's the world we live in. That's how it's possible. So everything we're thinking and everything we repeat looking at, whether it's amusing or entertaining or, nudity and violence and gore, whether you think it's entertaining, if you look at it, you're reflecting it out there in darkness. And darkness is making it light. And now that we have more means to express it, we're doing it more often. And the more often we do it, the more darkness will happen. So we have to start doing more pure things. We can make purity more fun. Or people can be more accepting of darkness as a means of education. Because that's all it is. There's nothing really wrong except for harming physical bodies. You could talk about it all you want. You can express it all you want. You can educate people about it all you want. Just don't physically force it on somebody. The problem is mentally forcing something on people, which is holding them captive, making them do certain things under certain rules until they hear it so much that it can't escape their memory. That's wrong. Hypnotism. It's been happening for generations and generations and generations. And as soon as somebody pops out of it and says, hey, we can't do this because they're making us do it, people say, yeah, but we have to. No, we don't. Are they going to come kill me? I don't really care if they do, because this is the right thing to do for people. Light shines in the dark and causes a center reflection. We are the realm of what we hear, creating what we make. Earth. I know that sounds funny to say, but that's really the truth. The letters say it all. I won't get too deep into that, but just realize that thought shining in the dark is what reproduces its inner center reflection. So your thoughts inside your head are doing that same thing. A mushroom growing from the ground, and what does it do? Through that darkness and that thought, between the two become things like gases, liquids, vapors, and those things reflect colors. And it takes time for those colors in this seeming world of time, it takes time for those colors to reproduce their reflections by whatever natural means necessary. And it has to happen in nature. And nature is according to thought, according to all thought. All thought is nature. And all thought in action is the Word of God. Because the Word of God is silent within your thoughts inside your brain, which are taking the universal mind, which is one thing, and expressing it through you in this mode of time, through your time-space continuum that you call a body. So people want to figure out all the astronomical stuff about science and all this stuff. Your time-space continuum is you. Your one universe is you, and the next universe over is the next living thing next to you. In fact, every cell of your body after your spirit leaves it will become its own universe, and that sounds so crazy, but it'll take what seems like billions of years for that to happen, for your cells to expand and have more spiritual material acquire and accumulate to make them more conscious of themselves. You are a spiritual being inside this, so you, as a human being, can't understand that. Each molecule of your cells will expand and eventually will become conscious and will think that now I have spirit, and it always has, just on a different level. So there's essentially gagillions of little spirits inside your cells, but they're all operating off of the one and off of their own material and their own likeness of kind and positive or negative vibrations through your thoughts, and how your body constructs itself due to what you've been watching or thinking or listening to your whole life makes your body. You only grow to be this tall. You only grow to be this old. You only live to be so happy or whatever due to these things, and if you follow these rules and these guidelines, instructions, and circumstances. Nope. Sorry to tell you, that's all wrong. Not to say that it wasn't good in the process of learning, but now that we know, and a lot of people don't know, and that's what people like me are here for. And people like you or anyone are here to hear this, and once they actually comprehend what the truth is, they share it with people. Whether it's against what popular government or political or anyone says, because this is for them too, as individuals, not as government. Because once a government gets put together, that's a mental machine. It's an idea. Anything that's an idea is an idea. You take it and you take rocks and stuff and you form metals and you make it into a machine. Well, a government was once a no people, and now you gather a whole bunch of people together. That's a mental machine. Now, the problem is we haven't been working on keeping that machine running the right way. We've just been like, the people that are there are like, oh, it's been running for a long time. Let us get old and keep it the same way. And let's let new people in that agree with the old way, because we don't want to try very hard to keep it upkept and have our machine worked on. You got to be 35 in order to come here, because by that time you've been altered enough. Add altered. Adult. When you add alteration to something, it becomes an adult. Like, stay a child your whole life. That's chi, going wild. But then once you control it, you're the creator. Anyway, I love you guys. That's all I'm going to say for now. Until next time, peace, love to everyone, and all things.